What is Zeon Zoysia? Zeon Zoysia is a type of grass that I recently discovered when I was looking for options to improve my lawn. I was drawn to it because of its beautiful dark green color and its reputation for being low maintenance. After doing some research, I found out that it's known for its drought resistance and ability to thrive in various soil types, which was perfect for my yard that tends to get dry in the summer. Overall, I've been really impressed with how Zeon Zoysia has transformed my lawn, making it look lush and healthy. 11 species in genus Zoysia. Zeon Zoysia versus Emerald Zoysia. I found Zeon Zoysia to have a finer texture compared to Emerald Zoysia, which gave my lawn a more manicured look, though Emerald seemed slightly more resilient to foot traffic. Zeon Zoysia versus Zenith Zoysia. Zeon Zoysia felt softer underfoot compared to Zenith Zoysia, which had a slightly coarser texture but seemed to recover faster from wear and tear. Zeon Zoysia versus Bermuda. Zeon Zoysia felt more luxurious and dense than Bermuda, providing a plush green carpet that required less frequent mowing and maintenance. Zeon Zoysia versus Palisades Zoysia. Palisades Zoysia had a thicker blade and was more tolerant of shade than Zeon Zoysia, making it a better choice for parts of my yard with less sunlight. Zeon Zoysia versus El Toro. El Toro Zoysia felt similar to Zeon in texture, but seemed to handle heavy foot traffic slightly better, maintaining its lush appearance even in high-use areas. Zeon Zoysia versus Empire Zoysia. Empire Zoysia felt slightly stiffer underfoot compared to Zeon Zoysia, but both provided excellent drought tolerance and a rich green color throughout the growing season. Zeon Zoysia versus Meyer Zoysia. Meyer Zoysia had a finer blade texture than Zeon Zoysia, giving it a more velvety appearance, though Zeon seemed to recover more quickly from stress and foot traffic. Zeon Zoysia versus St. Augustine. Zeon Zoysia required less water and maintenance compared to St. Augustine, which tended to yellow in dry spells and needed more frequent mowing. Zeon Zoysia versus Tiftuff Bermuda. Tiftuff Bermuda felt coarser than Zeon Zoysia and required more frequent mowing, but it showed better resilience to drought conditions and retained its green color longer. Zeon Zoysia versus Zoro Zoysia. Zoro Zoysia had a slightly darker green color compared to Zeon Zoysia, but both provided excellent heat tolerance and required minimal watering once established. Where to buy Zeon Zoysia grass seed? When I was searching for where to buy Zeon Zoysia grass seed, I found several local nurseries and garden centers that carried it. I opted to buy it from a reputable nursery near my home, as I wanted to make sure I was getting high-quality seed that was well-suited for my region. The staff at the nursery were helpful in answering my questions and giving me tips on how to properly plant and care for the grass. Does Zeon Zoysia spread? How fast does Zeon Zoysia spread? One of the things I love most about Zeon Zoysia is how well it spreads and fills in bare patches in my lawn. It has a creeping growth habit, so it gradually spreads outwards, filling in gaps and creating a dense, uniform turf. I've noticed that it spreads fairly quickly, especially in areas where it gets plenty of sunlight and water. It's been rewarding to watch my lawn become thicker and more lush over time, thanks to the spreading nature of Zeon Zoysia. How much does Zeon Zoysia cost? As for the cost of Zeon Zoysia, I found that it can vary depending on factors like where you buy it and the quantity you need. Generally, it's considered a premium grass variety, so it may be a bit more expensive compared to other types of grass seed. However, I believe it's worth the investment because of its durability and low maintenance requirements. Plus, the long-term benefits of having a beautiful, healthy lawn outweigh the initial cost for me. How much sun does Zeon Zoysia need? In terms of sunlight requirements, Zeon Zoysia prefers full sun but can tolerate some shade. I found that it thrives best in areas of my yard that get at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight per day. In shadier areas, it may not grow as vigorously, but it can still survive with proper care and maintenance. Overall, I would recommend planting Zeon Zoysia in areas that receive plenty of sunlight for optimal results. How to care for Zeon Zoysia grass. Caring for Zeon Zoysia grass has been relatively easy for me, especially compared to other types of grass I've tried in the past. It's important to water it regularly, especially during hot and dry periods, to help it establish deep roots and stay healthy. I also make sure to mow it at the proper height and frequency to promote healthy growth and prevent thatch buildup. Additionally, I fertilize it a couple of times a year with a balanced fertilizer to provide the nutrients it needs to thrive. Is Zeon Zoysia shade tolerant? One of the great things about Zeon Zoysia is its shade tolerance. Although it does prefer full sun, I've noticed that it can still thrive in areas of my yard that receive partial shade, although it may not grow as densely as it does in sunny areas. Overall, I've been impressed with how well it adapts to different light conditions and continues to look healthy and green, even in shaded areas. When does Zeon Zoysia go dormant? In my experience, Zeon Zoysia typically goes dormant in the winter months when temperatures drop and daylight hours decrease. During this time, the grass may turn brown and stop growing, which is a natural response to cold weather. However, it usually greens up again in the spring when temperatures warm up and daylight hours increase, which is always a welcome sight after a long winter. When does Zeon Zoysia turn green? I've noticed that Zeon Zoysia typically turns green in the spring as temperatures start to warm up and daylight hours increase. It's always a relief to see my lawn come back to life after the winter months, and Zeon Zoysia never disappoints with its vibrant green color. With proper care and maintenance, it continues to stay green throughout the growing season, creating a lush and inviting lawn for me to enjoy. When to fertilize Zeon Zoysia? When it comes to fertilizing Zeon Zoysia, I've found that it's best to do so in the spring and fall when the grass is actively growing. I usually apply a slow-release fertilizer with a balanced NPK ratio to provide the nutrients it needs to thrive. This helps promote healthy growth, strong roots, and vibrant color throughout the growing season. Additionally, I make sure to water the fertilizer in thoroughly to prevent any burning or damage to the grass.